Welcome back to this lesson series. In this lesson, we'll be treating subplots. So, subplots are a grid of graphs, just a grid of graphs. If you want to plot more than one graph, you want to, more than one graph appearing sort of in the grid. That's what subplots are used for. If you want to see multiple plots at the same time, you use subplots. So let's see what the function subplot does. So for subplot, you just pass in the dimensions of the grid you want to create an axis in tiled positions. But this MATLAB function divides the current figure into an m by n grid and the axis and creates axes in the position specified by P. Now, subplot, you call it the subplot function with m and n, m being the number of rows and n being the number of columns of the the tiles, and P is the position that you'll be plotting on. So let's go figure 1. So this will create a figure window 1 for us, and then let's create our x and y values. So let x be 1, so 10. That'll be, oops, I misspelled this. Yes. So y be cos x plus sine. Alright, so let's do cos x plus sine x. Alright, so we want to plot this now. If we just plot this, we just pass in the x and y, and we would have a result here in figure 1. Alright, let's say we had another one, g, which is sec x plus tan x. We wanted to plot x and g. Now imagine if you wanted to see both of them at the same time, right? But not on the same graph. Both of them at the same time, but not on the same graph. We would use the subplot. So subplot. Oops. So subplot. Now the number of rows and the number of columns. We want the two plots side by side, right? That will be one row with two columns. So one row of tiles with two columns, and we're plotting on the first one first, the first tile. Right. So this is what he has done. He has partitioned the whole figure into two, so that we'll have one graph here and another one here, and then we'll plot on the first graph because I called the position 1 here. Right. If I do this 1, 2, 2, I'm calling the second position, and I'll call the second one. Now I can't call 3 here because I'm defining a grid of 1 row and 2 columns, and that will only contain 2 tiles. So if I call the third tile, this will bring up an error because the index exceeds the number of subplots. Right. So let's focus back on the first subplot. I'll be able to plot on it. I will be able to plot x and y. So you should know what this means. This is a solid line, what do you call it? Circle markers and red. But we have 100 points, so let's remove the marker. So I have a red line, yeah. So we can plot on the second subplot now. Let's call this properly. Plot x, g, g. that should show there. So we want to plot back on subplot 1, 1 to 1, plot x, y. Now it'll appear here. Yeah. So we have the two graphs now containing two different plots, right? So this is x and y, this is x and g. So we can individually label them as well. So 1 to 1, right? So title graph of x, y against x. So right there, subplots 1 to 2, title graph of g against x. That appears right there. Okay. So that is the subplot. So one other thing is, let's create another figure. One thing I forgot to mention is that we can have two plots on the same graph. Right, I've shown you how we can use this plot function to create the two plots, but we can that's at one single time. So like this x, y, x, g. Right, you can do this, and that will appear both of them on the same, like this same graph. But we can do this individually too. So let's use CLF to clear the figure. So plot x, y, right? And let's say we want red dotted lines. So we'll have x, y plotted. And we use what's called the hold function. So hold, and this now will hold this figure, this plot, on the graph while we superpose the second plot on the same graph. So just call hold on, and then we'll be able to go do x, g. Let's say. Right, so what this is going to do is hold is going to make sure that this graph plot remains on the graph while we call this second plot function, and that then will also be plotted on the same graph. So you have the two invalid. Okay. Okay, no, it's not. It's dash dots. Yeah. So here you have the two of them are now on the same graph. Just the same thing as we did. You can do them individually. So you can plot this function, then the next function, then the next function, as long as hold is on, or if hold is off. If you turn off hold, you plot any function, it's going to replace everything that was on there. That's if you're calling it individually. You have to use the hold on if you want them superposed on one another. Or if you don't call hold, or if hold is off as by default, the plot figure graphs will keep updating, and whatever you call will replace whatever was there. Okay. So that's it. So that's a subplot and the whole function.